Hey guys, what's up? This is Shot Science Overtime number 107. Hopefully that started on the right time. So what we do every week is that we have a topic that we talk about for the first 10 or 15 minutes. And it's a topic that we think is going to help you guys be a better player or develop your game into being a better player. And while we're doing that, you guys are going to send us your questions. So anything basketball related, shooting, dribbling, defense, layups, passing, whatever, how to talk to your coach, vertical jump, athletic training, anything like that. And we'll try to do our best to get back to you with an answer, and we'll shout you out too. So make sure that you start sending us your questions. The other thing is that remember that this is our live show. This is not a regular video. It's going to be a longer one. And if it's not for you, that's cool. This is just so that we can talk to you guys and, be able to answer your questions face to face. So if it's not for you, don't worry about it. Check out our other stuff. We got a ton of videos in there. But if you want to ask a question, send them to us. We are at Shot Science on Twitter. We are on Facebook, Google+. You can send them to us in the stream on this video on YouTube, anywhere really that you can reach us on Shot Science. We will try to get back to you guys. Okay? So today our topic is going to be playing and practicing with purpose. And the reason that we chose this is that, a lot of times, you watch young kids typically, or even guys in high school or whatever, and you see them going out there and they're playing or practicing. They kind of have a casual approach to it, or it's they're worrying about what they look like, or just kind of going out there and shooting around or something like that. And to us, that's not the type of player that you see at the levels that get higher and higher up, like the NCAA or the NBA or the D League or whatever. Like, that's not how players typically approach the game once they start moving up that.
Right.
Right?
Yep, absolutely.
So one of the ways that you can kind of make yourself stand out is to be one of those players that doesn't just go out there and casually shoot around and, work on their trick shots or shoot from way too far away from the basket. What you want to do is be a player that practices primarily with purpose. And if you do that, what you will be doing is there will be a reason why you're doing everything that you're practicing. So you're going out there and you're not just, flipping the ball up, but you're going out there and you're working on, okay, right now I'm going to work on my pull-up jump shot. And you're working on that using the 3 pillars of practice too. So you're working on the diligent dialing in. So, maybe you're slowing that whole thing down and you're working on the footwork, you're working on the shooting mechanics, you're working on the pickup and all that. Then you're going to up it to game speed, game intensity. So that way you are going to be taking what you just worked on, dialing it in, and you're going to get it up to where it needs to be when you step into a game. Then you're going to go to part 3, which is actual game experience. And when you do that, you're going to actually get more out of the practice time that you're working on it. Because if you're just goofing around or, having a good old time, that's not really going to give you the results that you want. Right?
Exactly. Yep. The thing that we oftentimes fall into as young people, and certainly I'm not one of those, but we fall into the idea that, okay, I'm going to go take and work out today, and workout means something different to you than it does to coaches
or elite players
or elite players as well too. Yeah. And so going to work out doesn't mean that you're going to go down to the park and you're going to take and play pickup basketball for 2 or 3 hours. What it really means is that you're going to have some specific goals that you want to work on that particular day, and you go spend time on it. And maybe you only spend an hour maybe working on those things, and then you go ahead and play, pick up your game or whatever. But it's important that it be a structured kind of a practice for you where you have goals, certain goals in mind.
And you're getting the most out of that time.
Yeah. And goals doesn't necessarily mean that you make 18 out of 20 baskets or something like that. Goals are working on and executing different elements of the game that you need work on, whether it is shooting, whether it is defense or ball skills or whatever. But, I went to a game and this was a pretty well-known program. And they had one player out there that was so impressed with himself during warmups. He spent the whole time kind of being very, very cool. And then when the game started, he didn't really have that much of a game at all. And I was kind of surprised because the guy was big. He was 6'9", and he just kind of pranced around and trying to look like to let everybody know he was there and that he was very cool and that he could play really well. Well, when it came right down to playing, he wasn't that good at all. And so sometimes we fall into that routine when we're practicing as well. The idea is practice is let's go diligently work on the elements of our game that we are weak on.
Yeah, and if you go out there and you watch basketball players practice, you can pick out the guys that are going to be the best, next level elite players, because they go out there with a completely different approach than most of the regular guys. They're the guys like, let's say like Ray Allen. He's out there 3 hours before the game shooting, a couple hundred shots, and they're not just casual shots. These are game speed, game intensity shots. Right. And you see those guys on all different levels. I mean, you can see them in the youth leagues. You can see them in middle school and high school. There's always a few of those guys where they go out there and they are not just doing some casual thing. Like, they are shooting game shots from game spots at game speed. And those are the guys and girls that really shine when they actually get out on the basketball court. Right. And there's a reason why they move up the ladder. And, basketball should be fun, but if you want to get the results and you want to have fun being successful, then you have to have the approach in your practice like that, where you actually go out there and you're actually doing everything with purpose. You're not just doing something to do something. Like if you set up a time, okay, I'm going to go practice basketball today. Okay, what are you going to practice? Why are you going to practice? Why are you doing that? You need to analyze everything that you're doing, set it up so that you're getting the most out of that time frame that you're working in, and then make sure that you're not losing focus. You're always kind of analyzing what you're doing, and there's always a logistical reason for what you're doing.
Yeah. We get comments and questions quite often from players who want to know, okay, how do I work on this particular inefficiency as a skill? And maybe it's ball handling and whatnot. If you just go out and just play ball games, you're not going to be that effective. So when you go out with a purpose and you're working on your ball skills, it's amazing how quickly you start to improve those. I had one of the students this morning, and one of the things that I noticed as we started our workout is that, those ball skills are looking a lot crisper today. Did you work on these? Coach, I did this every day this week, and I spent about half an hour each one of the days just working on my ball skills, and particularly focused on my weak hand. Well, it was very evident that that's what he had done. So those are the kind of focused workouts that are really important for you if you're going to get better. Just going out and playing with the guys, that's okay, but don't expect great results from that. The real results come from you really diligently dig in and you're working on developing a skill that you lack or that you're not very good at.
Yeah. And, a lot of times we get questions about or comments about, I'm great in practice. I just dominate the practices. And then I get out into games and I can't do anything. Or I'm a great shooter when I'm just shooting around by myself. And then when I get somebody contesting me, then it just all falls apart. And that is one of those situations where you're not practicing with purpose. You're kind of just practicing to practice. And what you need to do is put those three pillars into play, always be analyzing, and have an approach that you are only doing things for a reason. And that's really how you approach practice in that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's how your coaches approach practice too. They don't just go out there and throw the ball out most of the time. Occasionally they might have a low organization if it's going to be a late season workout or something like that. But they go out there with a purpose. Today, we're going to be working on our ball skills. Today, we're going to be working on ball skills and shooting, and we're going to be working on our three-point shooting. And so it's all structured. And if you can work your workouts that way as well, that would be a real plus for you.
Yeah. We've been to a few like shoot arounds for D-League teams and stuff like that. And you can see the guys that are just about to be called up, and they are only there for a short period of time. And they are the guys that are on the opposite end of the court. They're working very diligently on their game. And then, on the other side of the court, there's a bunch of guys that are shooting around, having a good time and, chatting. And those guys, they're great players, but they're not the guy that's going to get the next call up right away. The guy that's at the other end, just killing it, working on his game speed, working on his weaknesses, and practicing with purpose, that guy is the next guy on the list.
Yeah.
And coaches see that too. That's the other thing, is that a lot of guys go out there and they just shoot around and they don't think anybody's watching them, or they don't think that that's some time where they're on the clock or something like that. But there's your coach, if he sees you at any point during the day or night or whatever, he's evaluating you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're just hanging out with your buddies and you're shooting around in your jeans or whatever. The coach, if he walks in there and he sees you, he's gonna take note. And so if he sees you and you're actually working diligently on these things and practicing with purpose, he's going to make a mental note, and he's going to remember that next time that he's making substitutions or putting together a starting five or whatever.
Or selecting team members.
Yeah. So, and that's a big thing when it comes down to tryout time is, that coach, he remembers, oh, that guy's in here every day, 20 minutes before everybody else, putting up game shots. So, maybe that's going to be a mental note he's going to make. And if it comes down to you and some other guy, that other guy isn't doing that. And, the coach is going to remember that. So that's something that you really need to keep in mind. And now, there's something else about playing with purpose is a little bit different than practicing with purpose. Playing with purpose is it's those same guys, but they are playing with a different kind of, I don't know, like an urgency or approach to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not, out of control. They're very, they're the ones that are in control. So they are doing things with purpose as well. They are, when they have the ball, they're not allowing the defense to dictate what they do. They are the ones taking control. They are the ones that are playing the first step, and they're making the defense react to them. And the same thing is true on the defensive end. They are defenders that are forcing the offense to react to what they're doing. So playing with purpose, and it also, those are the guys that will wins too.
That's true.
And they aren't the guys that just play to play or play for points or play to look cool or play for style points. They're the guys that they don't care if it looks ugly or if it just looks normal. Like if they could get 10 layups in a row or one dunk, they're going to take the 10 layups in a row.
Yeah.
And their purpose is they want to put the points on the board. They want to win, and they want to win, undeniably.
Right.
And that's the kind of player that you should really be, because if you're trying to get style points, or you're trying to impress people in the stands, or you're trying to, get people's attention, that is actually not the way to do it.
A couple of thoughts come to my mind as you say that, Casey. Watched a game the other evening, and this young guy made a really nice shot. And as he's this is a young high school guy, and he's going back down the court, and he's going like this to the crowd to give him all these cheers. That's really Bush. That's not something you want to do. That's not what the game is all about. It's a team game, and here he was, and so that's the kind of thing that really kind of stalls not only the coaches out, but fans really oftentimes don't like that either. So you want to take and play within yourself and play with purpose. And the guy that you can tell right away is the guy that has very little emotion on the floor. That's the guy who probably has superior confidence in himself and what he can do. And so because he spent so much time working on his game with a purpose in mind, and that is to excel as a basketball player.
Yeah, and you can watch players like that, like in the NBA. And I would say somebody like Kobe or Michael Jordan, like those guys, you look at them and they are, dead cold assassins when it comes to basketball. They are going to will a win. It doesn't matter if their team's down by 20 points. They are bringing them back, and they are going to do everything they can to, put their team on their shoulders and make it happen. And, they're not worrying about celebrating for themselves. They're not beating on their chest. They're not, celebrating. They are making sure that the points are on the board, and they can't go into the locker room thinking that they could have done more.
Yeah, exactly. So the purpose of all of it is the key point, the purpose.
And, the reason that we wanted to talk about this is because you see these guys, you see them every once in a while, these guys that everything they do is with a purpose. And those are the guys and girls that move up to the next level. And you can see other people at every single level too, but they are not the ones that are going to be excelling in the way that those other people do. And we want you guys to be that person that is always playing and practicing with purpose. And if you are able to figure that out, I mean, it's a mental flip you need to switch in your head. But if you're able to figure that out, you will start making gains and being successful at a much faster rate than if you are just kind of going about it like a regular day-to-day person does.
Yeah.
And be that person that's at the gym an hour before and leaving 20 minutes after everybody else. Be the person that's getting all the extra shots. Be the person that's always thinking about why you're doing these things, evaluating yourself, and then working on the things that you need to work on as a result of those thoughts. Just be that person, right?
Yeah, there's one more thought that kind of goes along with that whole thing too, and that is sometimes players become very enamored with themselves and the things that they think they can do. There's one player that I've seen around the last year or two. I've seen him play probably 6 or 7 times. And each time I watch him, I know exactly what's going to happen. He gets so involved in being very cute with what he does and passing the basketball with no look passes. And it's kind of funny. I've gotten to the point where as I watch the game, I figure that he's going to turn the ball over. He happens to be a guard. So he turned the ball over a lot in the beginning of the game, and he turns it over a lot during the course of the game. They're still pretty successful, but he would be a lot more successful himself and his team as well if he just quit trying to do all the cute stuff that he attempts. I was watching him play a game here recently. He turned over the ball 5 times on the first 5 possessions that they had, just because he was not fundamentally very sound. He was trying to be too cute with all of it.
Well, I mean, that comes down to all the whole style points versus actual points thing.
Yep, absolutely.
You get 0 points for style. You get 2 points for a regular basket. You get 3 points for a 3-pointer. You get 1 point for a free throw.
Yeah.
Those are what counts, and they don't need to be pretty. They don't need to, have anything special added onto them. If you put the points up on the board, that's when the people that count take notice.
And don't turn it over because you're trying to be too cute.
Yep. All right, you guys. So I think that's going to do it for our little intro topic today. And hopefully that helps you guys. But really think about your approach to the game. Be the person that approaches it with purpose, whether it's in practice or in your actual playing. And it will change who you are and probably open a lot of doors for you too.
Sure.
It's the earlier you learn that stuff too, the better. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully you guys have been sending us your questions while we've been talking. If you do have a question about anything basketball related, send them to us. We are at Shot Science on Twitter. You can send them to us on Facebook, Google+. You can send them to us in the chat here on the streaming YouTube video, and we will try to get to as many people as possible. And if you could, it would be awesome if you could go out and tell your friends and family to watch the show, because that helps us get more cool guests on. In the past, we've had the professor, we've had Danny Green from the San Antonio Spurs, we've had college coaches, and we've had coaches that help get kids into college programs. So if you want more people like that, please go tell your friends and family to watch the show, because that helps us a bunch. And go check out all of our YouTube videos, because we have videos on pretty much everything. But go check those out as well. Okay, so let's see. Let's jump into one right here in the chat. This is from Stick Amateur, who says, do you think anyone can become good enough to play in the NBA if they train hard enough, or do only the most athletic people have a chance?
That's a really tough question.
Not everybody
not
can play in the
everybody
NBA.
Not everybody is going to be successful, no matter how hard you work, is going to be successful making to the NBA. It's a very small number. I read something on there's only like
a few hundred.
I think there's around 400 NBA players, and so out of the entire country,
Active at one time.
Yeah, and so that's not very many. And so your chances of you're an average athlete or above average athlete, but you work really hard, there's no guarantee that you're going to make it to the NBA.
Look, there's people in the D League or playing street ball or that never got the chance to play in the NBA that could have been great NBA players, not just even regular NBA players. A lot of it comes down to your overall athleticism, your skills, and a whole lot of luck.
Yeah, a big lot of luck.
Yeah, because unless you're somebody like LeBron James, who is just undeniably going to be an NBA player from the time he's 15 years old, then there's a lot of ground you have to make up. You have to not only produce You need to make sure that you are playing in the right places and the right people are seeing you. And then you got to be lucky enough to stay healthy through that entire time. And you have to make the right pathway to get there too, because sometimes people don't make it going through the NCAA. Sometimes they have to go through that and then go overseas and then come back, or they have to go to the D League. A lot of it is persistence for a lot of these guys as well. So, somebody like Danny Green, he had to kind of bounce around a little bit. He played in the NCAA, and then he went to the NBA, then he went to the D League, and then he worked his way back into the NBA. And now he's a pretty much solidified NBA player. Same thing with like Jeremy Lin. I mean, it's not something where you are, given some golden pass to the NBA upon completion of the NCAA or whatever. You really need to have a realistic approach to your basketball career. So a lot of times it's great to have that NBA experience as maybe the pinnacle of what you can reach. But I think it's better to take the kind of progressive step-by-step approach where, okay, I'm going to make this next team. I'm going to make my college team. Okay, after college, I'm going to try my best to maybe go out for a D League team. I don't make the D League team. Okay, I'm going to go try to play overseas. You have to have options and have a plan and a backup plan and backup plan to the backup plan, because it's not going to be easy if you're just kind of not a superstar player.
Well, that's really the truth of it.
And he's asking kind of, do we think anybody can become good enough to play in the NBA? I would say no. There's
really
there's a lot of things that factor into being an NBA player. People talk about, people like Brian Scalabrine or Steve Nash or even like Big Baby, like these guys that don't have like maybe the most athleticism, aren't the quickest or whatever. But in reality, somebody like Steve Nash is an elite level athlete. His athleticism is off the chart, even if you don't think it is. You see him playing against people that are just freakish, but he is also on the freak level. Somebody like Brian Scalabrine, he is an incredibly good player, and he would beat pretty much anybody that you put up against him that isn't maybe an NBA player, and he would probably beat most NBA players too because he was a good player. And the thing is that those guys also know how to play at that level as well. They're physical. They have the bodies to play there. If you are a 5'2" guy, I don't think you have a chance to play in the NBA.
No, I think it would be a real freakish situation.
It would be, somebody like Muggsy Bogues, who's 5'3". He was able to play there because he was off the charts athletic. And he also was playing in a time where he could play at that level too, because his physicality at 5'3", he was still able to bang around with those guys. But not everybody's going to play in the NBA, and that's fine. You can play other places, right?
Well, yeah. There's other levels to play. There's semi-professional teams, a number of leagues and whatnot around the country, plus the D League. D League, actually, that level of basketball is really, really good.
Yeah, people think that the D League is just like rec league. It is not.
It is not.
Those guys are pro players and they're NBA players.
They're really good, and they're just waiting for their opportunity to be able to step up. One of the local guys recently, Bob McAdoo. What's his first name? Is it Bob?
James Michael.
James.
Bob is his
dad.
No, it's his great uncle or something like
that. He has been with the Santa Cruz Warriors for the last year, maybe 2 years, and he is getting regular call-ups. Just getting regular call-ups to the big team, to
the Warriors, Golden State Warriors,
the Golden State Warriors, and he's going to make it one of these days because he is really an athlete. But he's 6'9", and long and athletic, and he can shoot the ball too.
Yeah, and don't be discouraged by what we say about this kind of stuff, because you can play basketball on a rec league team or an adult league or whatever, and you might be just as happy doing that. Everybody wants to play in the NBA, but the NBA brings a whole different level of stress and lifestyle that you might not be even prepared for. I mean, you saw like the Larry Sanders thing the last 2 weeks or so, and it is not like you just go play basketball. It is like an insane amount of pressure, and it's not for everybody, and that's why a lot of guys flame out too. It's just not for everybody. Okay, let's move on. New question. Let's see here. Let's jump in here with Danielle J. Anders on Google Plus, who says, "Hey guys, I played professionally overseas in both Portugal and Italy. Basketball has been good to me. Can you all speak to the importance of having a high basketball IQ? Skill set and work ethic are great. However, understanding the game thoroughly is key."
You know, that's absolutely the truth, Danielle. And you know, not every basketball player that picks up a ball and ends up playing ever develops a lot of that aptitude for the game. It takes understanding of what's happening, what needs to happen, and a lot of players never really get there. And you know, one of the things that I will say about my three sons is they spent a lot of time around basketball when they were really young, and I'm talking in the 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and listening to coaches talk, listening to their dad talk to coaches and stuff like that. Then they all developed an aptitude for the game at an early age. That didn't mean that they all had it right immediately, but it's a continual growth that takes place in your understanding of the game of basketball and what needs to be done, how you achieve it. There's just a lot of elements, and I just think that understanding of the game is really important, and not everybody ever gets all of that.
Well, it makes it easier on you because you know how to get things done in a more efficient way,
and when it needs to be done and how it needs to be done.
Well, yeah, I mean that all comes down to your approach too. And we were just talking about practicing and playing with purpose. I mean, purpose and being analytical and logistical, those are great things for you in terms of developing yourself as a player. And in terms of basketball IQ too, I mean, just getting experience, I think, really helps you in developing that as well. It's not, a lot of people ask, can you just sit there and watch game tape or go to game? I don't think that's really the best way to develop basketball IQ. I think it's just kind of being super aware when you're actually playing, listening to coaches' critiques and coaches' comments.
Those are not sports casters comments, but coaches.
No armchair experts. Like, these are actual people that are on the ground. But just getting game experience will help you develop that high basketball IQ. And you want it to be a situation too where your body kind of knows what to do in a situation without too much thought at all. And the muscle memory response, stuff like that is really important. So
yes. Another part of that is that years ago, that was referred to aptitude for the game. And that has kind of changed into the IQ, or understanding of the game. Aptitude is kind of an interesting way it has been applied. Aptitude is not only understanding what's going on, but understanding what needs to be done because of that. And so I think aptitude for the game and IQ for the game is probably the crux for those people who are going to be the better players. They aren't always the best players either, but better players.
Okay.
Great question, Danielle.
Yeah, this one is from Anna Vukoja, who says, "Hi, coach. I'm right-handed. When I shoot the ball, it doesn't have the correct backspin, but it does have side spin. My coach told me that my left hand is too much partaking in the shot. I tried to change it, but I can't."
Your coach was right on. There's no question in my mind from your question that that's the problem. One of the things that happens, and we never refer to this offhand as the guide hand, because it doesn't really guide the basketball ever. And we refer to it as the assist hand, and it's for gathering up, getting ready, and then it needs to get out of the way. Because what happens is that this hand, if this is the left hand here, as we start to shoot, oftentimes the left hand, the thumb particularly, will rake across the basketball and cause the ball to have side spin on it. Not only does it have side spin, but usually the ball goes to the right and it goes to the left because of getting that thumb into it. What you really need to do on this is, and if you watch Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and people like that, the ball comes up here and they have it in both hands, and this hand steps away and it is a one-handed shot. People are always telling me, "Coach, my hand's not very big. How can I shoot one-handed?" It's not a problem, really. What happens is that you spread those fingers out, get a little bit of room between the ball and the palm or heel of the hand, and you're going to have pretty good control. But I'm sure that's what's going on and causing that side spin is that thumb on the assist hand.
Yeah, and one of the ways that you can work on that is using our form shooting drill. If you go to our
Yep.
YouTube channel and look up the form shooting drill, what we teach people in the very initial part of it is when you're shooting from the block or right in front of the basket is shoot that one-handed shot. Work on that. Get that down a whole bunch of times. Then slowly add in that assist hand and really work on making sure that the assist hand just is there to hold the ball for a second. And as you elevate, it doesn't do anything.
Yep.
And if you work on that one-handed shot using the form shooting drill, you'll be in good shape.
Yep. And you know what is really important about this too is your accuracy is going to be a lot better with just that one hand working on the basketball. This one over
Yeah.
here tends to cause it to go both ways.
And make sure you're finishing to the basket off of these two fingers too,
Right.
because if you're swiping this way or that way, that's going to create side spin as well. So finish to the basket off those two fingers. And you also said something about here, you tried to change it, but you can't. You haven't tried hard enough.
Yeah, you just have to put your mind on that particular element until you overcome it. And you know, this is a matter of muscle memory. One of the things that we often forget about is the fact that everything that we do usually is because we repeated it, and it becomes a part of muscle memory. Well, what you need to do with that thumb is get it off there, get it off there, get it off there until that becomes muscle memory. And you'll find that your shot's going to be a lot more accurate.
All right, this one is from Nick TV, who says, what?
Thanks again to Anna, because there's another young lady involved today. That's cool.
Here's one from Nick TV who says, I got cut from the Tasmanian state team. The coach said that I needed to improve ball handling. Is there any drills to improve and make sure I make the cut next year? I mean, there's a ton, man. Go check out our videos on developing your weak hand. Yeah. There's a bunch of dribbling drills involved with that. I think if you go to any of our videos that we post, we put a playlist of ball handling drills and dribble drills and stuff like that. Work on that, work on the dribble attacks. You just have to put in the time. And like we said, practice with purpose and use the 3 pillars of practice and you will be in good shape. But there is no, pill you can swallow to make you better unless you put in the work.
Yeah. And you know, it's amazing if you take and spend 20 or 30 minutes a day working just on your ball skills, you'd be surprised how much better they get in a big hurry.
Yeah. And Nick,
in a big hurry.
Nick down here says, I can shoot the rock in practice pretty good, but when I'm in games, I seem to lose balance and my mechanics go out the window. My dad, who played NBL, gave me some drills, but I was wondering if you could give me some too. Yeah, I mean, go check out our shooting videos on, just our regular shooting videos on skill development, and also check out all of our shooting drill videos. I think that the form shooting drill is something that you want to check out. When you lose balance, a lot of times it's because your footwork is not where it should be,
right? And
maybe your feet are too close together or something like that. But you need to work on the footwork primarily to get the balance in place.
That is so critical, because one of the things, if we don't have balance and stability when we're ready to deliver the ball, we're not going to be accurate. And so that part of it you need to really work on. But we've got videos that you can check out. We'll help you on that one.
And really work on doing that nice 1-2 footwork, because that will help you be balanced. It will help you be efficient, and you'll be able to go up in the shot without as much effort as you might think.
Right.
Okay, let me go to Twitter here. This one is from our buddy Nate Thompson, who's here every week. He says, if I notice multiple things I could improve on my shot, should I take and focus on one at a time for 3 weeks until it becomes muscle memory and then go on and try to fix the next thing? Or should I try to tackle more than one and change my shot altogether right away?
I would take it piece by piece.
Because I wouldn't do the way that he talks about, though.
I would take one element. Let's say we were talking about that thumb on the offhand a while ago. I would take and work on that, and you'd be surprised. That probably is a correction that you can make in a matter of a day or so, and then move on to the next one. I don't think that I would take and just bury myself in trying to change 2 or 3 or 4 things. Usually your shot, if you have put some time into it, is probably only going to have 1 or 2 things that are kind of affecting the success of the shot.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it depends on what exactly the things are that he's talking about. Like maybe it's something where he needs to get his elbow in a little bit more and stagger a little bit towards. I mean, those are the type of things that you should just do without much effort. You just gotta do it, and then do it. Do the repetitions as many times as you can, and really get that knocked in. I don't think that you want to go, okay, I'm going to put my elbow in and do 1,000 shots like that, and then turn and get the stagger and do that. That's not a good idea. I think you need to get all the foundational elements lined up and ready to go. Do the form shooting drill, get that stuff going. But if you have multiple things going on with your shot, I mean, you probably need to reevaluate what's going on with your shot, really.
You know, something that would probably be really helpful for you too is to take and have yourself videoed from front, back, and side as you're shooting, and then kind of evaluate that based upon some of the videos that we have online, and see how do I fit as opposed to those. And like I said, we would probably find that there's only 2 or 3 little things maybe that are holding you back, and those are fixable pretty quick.
Yeah, but don't spend 3 weeks working on subpar mechanics just because you fix one thing. Get everything in the right space so that you're not doing a ton of repetitions doing something that you have to fix down the road again. I mean, that doesn't make sense. Okay, this one is from Karen Singh, who says, hello, coach. I've been a pretty good shooter for the last 3 years, but suddenly since I started lifting, my form is messed up and I can't make a single shot, not even in practice. Any tips on how I can overcome this shooting slump? Okay, it's probably a mental thing.
Well, yeah, partly, but go ahead.
You know, the thing is that lifting weights will not affect your shot. People try to blame it all the time. What really will affect your shot in terms of lifting weights is a loss of flexibility. And that's on you to make sure that you're not losing flexibility.
So what's the answer for that?
You need to work on dynamic stretches and work on functional movements. And you need to also just keep the repetitions going for your shooting as well. I mean, that's really the bottom line.
Well,
too many people are blaming muscular size and all this garbage on that. It doesn't affect your shot at all. I can tell you 100% that it does nothing. You can get the biggest shoulders in the planet and, you know, bench as much as you want. As long as you maintain your flexibility and, you are continuing to shoot and get the practice in and the diligent, purposeful practice in, it will not affect your shot at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really the thing. And maybe you're sore or maybe you're fatigued. Maybe those are the things that are really leading to your shooting not being great. So maybe you need to give yourself more rest and recovery time. Maybe you need to work on your flexibility. Maybe you need to get more shots up. I don't know. But
there's another element there. Maybe you should quit worrying about it so much.
Yeah. I mean,
just focus on the elements of your stroke and use the form shooting drill. I bet you'd be surprised how quickly it'll come back for you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times shooting slumps are essentially people have forgot to shoot in the present. And they're worried about what's happening what's happened in the past and what's happening in the future. You can't do that.
Well, there's something else to remember too, is that usually you can fix that pretty quickly if you just take and videotape yourself, and that'll probably help you a whole bunch too. People develop as shooters. I find this all the time. Somebody will come to me and say, Coach, I need to have some lessons. What's wrong? Well, my shot is really off. Well, what we find out is that there's one element that they have kind of corrupted or that has kind of disappeared from their shot. As soon as we were able to get that back in there and figure it out, the shot comes right back to them. It's not like you forget how to shoot ever.
Okay, we need to answer questions a little bit more quickly here. Okay. This one is from Kedar Al-Hamdani, who says, I get really scared before I play basketball games for my team, but when I go to my local gym, I play fearless and do really good. I drive and finish and make my shots, and it's just normal. But the next day I go to the game and I get scared and I don't do well. Please help me. I've been trying to study this. Really need help.
Well,
you just need to get more game experience. And here's the thing. Most people, when they are lacking confidence or they get scared, it's because their skills aren't where they need to be for their expectations. Yeah. So you need to work on making sure that you have the skills that are reliable enough for you to just feel comfortable with them. If you're worried about, turning the ball over or whatever, or missing the shot, then you're not going to perform well. And so you need to get more game experience. Also, you need to flip the switch in your brain and tell yourself not to worry about it, because every trip down the floor is a new opportunity. And if you're worried about what happened last time or what's going to happen the next time after this one, then you've already talked yourself out of being successful at that time.
Well, there's another element that comes into play there. When you're playing with the guys, you probably are not under a whole lot of pressure. Your confidence is probably in pretty good shape. But as soon as you go to maybe a game that has a little bit better players, you're worried that you're going to be unable to compete on that level or unable to perform. And so then we lose confidence. And as we lose confidence in what we can do or need to do, then that really negatively affects our game. So confidence is really important for you.
Yeah, don't worry about anybody in the stands. Don't worry
Yeah.
about anybody evaluating you. You are just you playing the best you can be. Just worry about yourself and playing in the framework of your team.
Right.
Okay, this one is from Relics. It's a long one. Hold on. He says, "Hey coach, I've not been playing basketball for too long. Only second year taking it seriously. However, I've been practicing a lot since then. I tried out for the high school last December as a freshman. I'm going to not my local public high school and didn't make the cut. Since then, I've been training every day for the next tryout to see if I can actually make the team. I believe I didn't train hard enough the past summer for the freshman tryout. Also, for some other background info, some of my friends believe I would have easily made my local public high school freshman team. My question is, should I try out for an AAU team or do my school's outdoor track program since my stamina goes quick when I'm playing ball? Also, track provides an opportunity to use my school's weight room to improve my strength. I'm 5'8" guard, wannabe. Handles are almost there, but not quite. And I'm a good mid-range shooter, decent long range. Sorry for the long message. Just wanted you to understand the situation. Okay, this is easy. Don't spend too much time worrying on developing your track or your strength and all that stuff. Those things are great, but they don't translate as well as actual skill development. It says that your handles are almost there, but not quite. Well, there's one of your answers right there. Work on your handles, work on your ball handling. Good mid-range, decent long range. Work on that. What about your defense? What about your passing ability? What about your actual game aptitude? Those are things that are going to make you a valuable player, not whether or not you've added some strength or some speed. I mean, conditioning is important too, but the actual skill execution is really the most important thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. You kind of need to look at who you are as a player as well. If you were saying you were 6'5", there's a little bit of a different kind of a program necessary there. But here's the thing: you're 5'8". You're probably quicker than a lot of the people who are bigger than you, and you want to utilize that by having really good skills. And if you spend time on it, like we talk about every week, just working on your skill development and being committed to it and not just going and playing around, you'd be surprised how much you improve. If we had time, I would tell you a story of a young man who played for us who was very much like that. But I'm not going to do that today.
Yeah. The bottom line here is you need to get a comprehensive approach to your basketball development.
Yep.
Work on your skill development, work on your conditioning, and work on your game experience. And the conditioning thing, which you're trying to kind of utilize the track program for, you don't necessarily need that unless you want to do that. But you can do things like interval training where it's like sprints and ladders and suicides, things like that, that will really help you develop your conditioning for basketball because it's very basketball specific training to do that kind of stuff. Okay. Axel Gumira says, what would I have to do to get a scout to watch me play? You personally cannot do anything other than play on a team that is kind of going to tournaments.
Yeah, the way things are structured for colleges today and their scouting and whatnot, it's all pretty much centered around national level tournaments in the country that are kind of either have travel teams or they have AAU type teams. And those coaches get the word out to different coaches around the country, college coaches. And, okay, we've got this guy who can do this, and we're going to be playing at these 2 or 3 tournaments. We're going to be at Los Angeles. We're going to be at Las Vegas, blah, 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 blah. And those coaches, if they're interested, they will send somebody from their coaching staff to watch you and see if you have something that they are interested in. But high school coaches are not so much involved in that anymore, and I'm not sure that's a good idea. They should be more involved in it, but that's kind of the way it is. It has all kind of centered around AAU and travel teams playing in national level tournaments.
Okay, so we're going to do an early lightning round because we're getting so many questions. We need to be faster and more efficient. All right.
Okay, Casey.
Okay, so this one is from Nikola Naumoski, who says, I want to know how I can become a leader on my team. Well, go check out our video on how to make the team.
Right.
I think we even did a video on leadership a couple of weeks ago on our live show, but it really comes down to taking the initiative, doing all the small things, being kind of like a support system for your teammates and your coach, And
gaining the respect of your teammates is huge.
Yeah,
to be a leader on the team.
So go check out those videos, and I think it'll really help you because we've already kind of covered that stuff. This one is from Max Eckhart, who says, do you have any tips on pick and roll offense when the defender steps out and hedges? Anything more than split the defender or pass out?
Well, you know, the hedging situation is trying to stop you and try to push you toward the midcourt. And what happens is that usually that pressure is there momentarily, and then that defender, the hedge person, usually starts to try and recover to his person. And so if you stay with that hedge for a moment, maybe then you can still attack him as he begins to move away from you. I don't necessarily think that stepping around the person is so bad. But I think splitting them probably works really as well as anything else.
Yeah, you can do things like slip. You can fake if it's something where you're seeing them doing it regularly. You can fake like you're going to follow through on the pick and then actually go the other way.
Yes. Well, one of the things that comes out on that is that usually there's a screen and roll action that's kind of taken place when they hedge like that. And so one of the things that you can do there is, when you see that hedge person step out really quick, if your teammate is rolling, you can hit them with a little pocket pass right between the two defenders, and that's pretty effective as well.
Yeah. Okay, this one is from Bear Grylls fan 007, who says, who's your favorite player in the NBA and why? Probably Steph Curry right now, because we're from the Bay Area. Yeah. We love the Warriors. He's a great shooter. He's a great just general basketball player. He's kind of an underdog type of body type.
Mm-hmm. And he's a personality.
Yeah, and he's a winner.
He has a lot of personality.
But we love guys like Kevin Durant is awesome.
Yep.
We love one of my favorites is Dirk Nowitzki still. Yeah. There's a ton of guys.
Yeah, yeah. James Harden. I like James Harden a lot too. I like how he competes.
Yeah, except for his defense.
One day he'll figure that
out. Let's see. This one's for Basketball for Life, who says, what tips do you have for shorter players? Okay. First one is forget about being shorter. I mean, people talk about this stuff like they're at some kind of disadvantage. But the fact of the matter is that if you have that approach, you've already kind of talked yourself out of it. What you need to do is realize that you have advantages over some of the guys that are maybe taller. You're going to be quicker. You're going to be faster. You're going to be more agile. You're going to be able to maybe go places that they aren't able to go as quick as they would want to. You're also in a position where those guys think that they're going to be able to block you at every turn because they're taller than you and you're shorter. So you can do things like give them a shot fake. They're going to jump almost every single time. And you're going to be able to go up and get some body on them and get an and one situation or go right by them. I mean, there's so many advantages to being the shorter player that, you need to stop being caught up in you're shorter and at a disadvantage. There's advantages and disadvantages for both. Yeah. Right.
Well, one of the things you can do is go to the NBA and look up players like Muggsy Bogues and Nate Robinson. Those guys aren't very big, and they play very well there against a lot of guys who are way bigger than they are.
Yeah,
and they utilize their speed, their quickness, their athleticism to be able to play at that level.
Or Steph Curry or Steve Nash or Chris Paul, or the list is long.
Exactly.
These are 6 foot guys that are going up against, some of them are a little bit taller, but 6 foot guys that are going up against 7 foot guys. I mean, that's insanity.
We're worrying about being short.
Yeah. I mean, it's an excuse.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one is from Paul Pitt. He says, hey coaches, I play basketball since about 1 year. My problem at the moment is that I'm way too passive and static in the offense. I'm kind of scared to drive up to the rim. What can I do? And I'm having problems with outplaying the defenders. I nearly always lose the ball. Sorry for bad English. It wasn't bad English.
No.
Let's see. The thing about it is that you need to get more confidence and work on your skills a little bit more so that you feel good about them and you know that they're there. You're probably worried about turning the ball over or doing something wrong or something like that. Need to just work on your skills, get more game experience, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, it's just a process of becoming more comfortable with the game of basketball, and that comfort comes from developing your skill level, so your confidence is there as well.
Yeah, and here's another one from Kedar Alhamdani, who says, I get really scared before I play basketball games for my team, but when I go to my we already did that one.
We got him, yeah.
It's the same deal. You need to just forget about that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Somebody here is saying, what about Spud Webb? He played in the NBA. Yeah, Spud Webb, 5'7". I mean, he was super athletic too, though, is the other thing. He wasn't just a short guy.
He could jump out of the gym.
Yeah, he won the dunk contest one year. So there's that. Looks like we have Eric Schultz who's in here. And I guess I've read a couple of his comments. I guess he's like a psychologist, sports psychologist, and a basketball coach. And he's saying that he likes the stuff that we're saying about playing with purpose and stuff like that. So thanks, Eric. That's cool.
That's great, Eric. Thank you.
Let's see. Johnny Justice says December 2015 and 5 to 10 inches. Oh, I guess he's talking to somebody else. Let's see here. This one is from Patrick Heavey, who says, hey, coach, I'm in the 8th grade and I really want to make the freshman basketball team next year. Any tips or drills I can do to become better as a player?
Everything,
comprehensive approach.
Yeah. One of the things the young players seem to think that there is some secret to making the team. If you go look at our video on make the team, and it gives you some insight into what coaches are looking for. But the real answer for you is to go out and develop those skills, develop all your ball skills. So you're very competent with either hand. Make sure that you can shoot the basketball and not just a catch and shoot kind of guy, but somebody who can shoot off the dribble as well. There's a lot of things about the game that you need to take and work on and set up practices for yourself where you're practicing with a purpose. We kind of talked about that early on today. That's really important in developing your skill level, but also super important in developing your confidence in yourself.
Okay, here's one from Brandon Providence who says, hey guys, I'm a sophomore in high school and on varsity. I don't get much playing time because I'm only 5'5". I'm more skilled than most guys on my team, but my coach still won't play me. I want to play college basketball, but I'm a bench warmer. What do you think I need to do to get more playing time? Love the show, Brandon. Okay, well, number one, you're a sophomore playing on varsity. You're probably not going to play a ton, man.
Yeah, that's the truth of it.
Unless you are just like a superstar or whatever. Typically, high school coaches are going to play the older guys, even if you might be even better, because it's kind of their time. A lot of coaches, they want to win, but they also they kind of are endeared to the guys that are moving on, right?
Well, and get guys maybe they've had for a period of time. They're not going to push them to the back unless you're a super player with regard to them. So
yeah, and you
bide your time and just work on your game. That's going to be a real important situation.
Yeah, and you have time, man. You're a sophomore.
Yeah.
You got 2 more years after this where you probably are going to be the man because you're playing on the varsity at such a young age.
Yeah.
So, you're talking about being only 5'5". Again, forget about the height thing. That's the disadvantage of the height thing. That's the worst thing you can do. Just keep playing your game. Keep showing your coach that you are an undeniable player. If you're a whiner and you're going to bring up all this stuff to your coach, good luck being a successful player on that team because he's not going to want to deal with that.
Nope.
So if you want to get more playing time, go check out our videos on how to make the team. And I think we even did a live show on how to get more playing time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So go check those out, and that'll show you how to kind of endear yourself to the coach and do all the things that will help you get more playing time. But you're a sophomore too, so don't freak out. You're a bench warmer because you have the privilege of playing on the varsity as a sophomore.
Yeah.
So don't freak out. Let's see. This one is from Starshine, who says, hey, I'm in All-Stars, and I was wondering if you can help me on something. I dribble the ball sometimes, and I always end up in the corner. I try to drive to the middle, but I get the ball taken away. Any tips on handling the ball? Oh, easy. Don't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you know that's a problem for you, that's the last place you want to go. And that's a pretty common situation. Players, I don't know what it is, whether it's a matter of comfort or whatnot, but you take and dribble into the corner, and then the next thing you do is pick up the basketball. Now you're in real trouble because they will usually double team you, and there's no place for you to go. You're cornered. And so keep your dribble alive so you can back out of the corner and don't go there unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make much sense for you to okay, we don't need to get into that.
No.
Okay. This one is from Nathan Thompson again, who says, what is one way or drill to practice shooting off the dribble at game speed if me and my friend are training together? What's a way to get us both tired and get reps in, but not be waiting for the other guy to finish for too long?
Well, you can both be shooting at the same time. You just don't have to be shooting on the same side of the court. One of the things that we really like is, and I think working with another person is really a good idea. And the reason I think that is the fact that that person is making a pass, you're making a catch, and then you're going to take and react off of that catch. So I think that's really important.
Well, he's
that
talking
you
about
take that
shooting off the dribble.
Yeah, I know. I haven't gotten to that yet. The thing that is really good is catch that ball and then take and make one or two dribbles, pull up and shoot it. Then go the other way, pull up and shoot it, and do that at game speed. But I don't think you need to both have to be doing it exactly at the same time.
Well, I have two thoughts on it. Number one is go check out Dennis Stanton's spin shooting drill.
Yep.
Because he incorporates the off the dribble game speed
Right.
stuff. The other thing is that you can do that just getting the reps in. That you don't need to have a super complicated drill or anything like that set up. Like really just spinning the ball to yourself, catching it, going off the dribble at game speed. Maybe you get the other guy coming in to play defense on you. Maybe he's your rebounder, whatever it is. But it doesn't need to be some complicated or flashy type of drill. People get caught up in that. It doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, excuse me, is that well, go ahead. I don't know.
Well, one of the things I was going to say there is have that other person, instead of throwing the pass, they're standing right in front of you like a defensive player, and they underhand pitch the ball to you and then close out on you. And you have to make some kind of a reaction to that. You're either going to drive right or you're going to drive left. And, you can work on driving to the basket, or you can work on just one or two dribble, pull up and shoot it. Both of those are really effective.
Yeah, I know. Here's the other thing too, is that too many people are worried about getting like a ton of shots off at one time. I think it's important to do things in chunks and make sure that they are quality. We talk with Alan Stein, and he's one of our buddies and stuff, and he's always, and also Drew Hanlon too of Pure Sweat. Those guys and us are always talking about the quality of shots.
Yes.
Like you are going for 250 makes, and not only are they makes, they are also perfectly executed shots where the mechanics are there. You're not just shooting 1,000 shots. And the other thing is that you can shoot too many shots where you are mentally and physically going to be too fatigued and deteriorated or uninterested, where it's not going to help you.
Yes.
So get 250 quality makes a day, and that's going to be better than just 1,000 blah shots.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's another thing to consider. So if you're there with your buddy, maybe you take 25 shots, then it's his turn, he takes 25, and while you're resting and recovering, you're kind of evaluating, and then your mind is fresh and you're ready to hit it again. So just keep that in mind too. Let's see here. We are down to the last minute. We're going to take two more. Okay.
All right.
Let's see. Do you see any that you like here? Here's one from Axel here. This one's from Axel Gumiro, who says, which release do you believe is better, finger release versus cookie jar release?
Well, there's not much difference in our mind. What you want to do is make sure that that wrist is relaxed and the ball comes off of these two fingers. And we want to have that wrist break toward the floor. Now, that kind of looks like the cookie jar thing, except maybe they're talking about reaching high, but so do we. We still want to have that same release. Those two fingers, and making sure that the wrist is a nice flop, nice soft. We won't go into why.
Yeah, I mean, the cookie jar thing is just a visualization thing.
Yeah.
People have made it into something that it's not at this point. It was mostly just so that you would elevate your elbow and your hand to a point where you were reaching into the cookie jar.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have anything to do so much with your release. For us, we like to say you want to have your elbow above your shooting eye. It's the same thing as saying is get your hand in the cookie jar. I mean, it's essentially the same thing. But when it comes to your release, you want to have that flop release where your hand is very loose and floppy. There's no flicking, because that is tension, and you don't want tension because that translates to the ball, the flight of the ball. And when it hits the rim or the backboard, it's just going to expend that energy. You want to have a nice flop release. And if you go watch our super slow motion video stuff, you can see that how the wrist is just very loose and floppy, and the ball comes off these two fingers last, because that provides the control from those 2 points of contact. So go check that stuff out.
Okay.
All right. Last one. So we got to pick a good one. Let's see. This is always so hard.
Well, let's talk here too.
Right here?
Right here from Mexico.
Well, you can say it out loud. I mean, that's not a question though. This is
Okay.
Joku Gallman, I guess.
Yeah. He's sending us a note that he's from Mexico. I'm glad you joined us
Yeah,
today.
what's up? Okay, there's a couple questions going around. Like Michael Litton says, how do you transition from playing center to playing a guard? And then there's somebody asking about Yigitan Gank asking any tips for point guards. And then people asking for stuff about positions and everything like that. Here's our thoughts on that. You need to focus more on just being a great all-around player that can do a little bit of everything. Not a little bit of it. You can do everything.
You can do everything.
You know, too many people focus on, okay, I'm a center, or somebody once told them that they were a center, so that's what they feel they are. Worst thing you can do for yourself. You want to be able to do everything. You want to be able to step into the post and do some post moves. You want to be able to have perimeter moves. You want to be able to shoot. You want to be able to dribble or take the ball off the dribble. You want to be able to finish at the rim. You want to be able to shoot free throws. You want to be able to play defense. You want to be able to pass the ball. You need to do all those things. And if your coach asks you, hey, Tom, go play the point guard, and then maybe next time he's like, oh, okay, go play the center, you need to be able to do that, because that will make you a more valuable player. You'll be able to make more teams doing that. And, you know, maybe there's a matchup where you're going up against a guy that cannot defend in the post, but you're playing point guard. So they'll you know, rotate you down. Mm-hmm. And now you've got the advantage because you can post that guy up.
First of all, you want to be a basketball player.
Yeah. So work on all of those things. If you're a point guard right now, figure out how to play in the post. That's one of the best things you can do for yourself. If you're a post player, make sure you can shoot and drive from the perimeter and distribute the ball, and you'll be in good shape. All right. Okay. So I think that's going to do it for us today, you guys. If we didn't get to your question, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we just ran out of time and didn't have enough time for everybody's question. Mm-hmm. If you want to send us your questions during the week, we are available on pretty much anything Shot Science. We are at Shot Science on Twitter, Facebook, Google+. Subscribe to us on YouTube because that's where we post all of our new videos and stuff for you guys. Also, we are on Snapchat. So if you want to follow us on Snapchat, we are doing snaps where we're showing you guys behind the scenes stuff of the making of our videos. We're doing coaching tips. We're showing people drills. We have some guest coaches that are doing a bunch of that stuff too. So our, you know, Coach Taylor and Coach Dylan are doing some things on there. And, you know, we're going to try to show you guys more stuff using the Snapchat if you want to check us out. So we are Shot Science on there. And hopefully you guys will come check it out. We're also answering questions there too. So check it out. And if you can, go tell your friends and family to check out the live shows. We're here every Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific time. And I guess we will see you guys next time.
Good.
Right?
Thanks for joining us.
All right. See you guys.